in America because with the government, they're very, very stringent on, who has your data.
What would you get rid of?
Badly put together VMS systems, bad data, a lot of dodgy data, and I would have that much more cleaned up. It's a very competitive market out there for healthcare and for SaaS. So we truly have to pull people from companies.
Welcome to The Growth Switch, the podcast where we dive into the strategies, struggles, and breakthroughs of bold business leaders. I'm your host, Jules Fox, the growth strategist and lead content creator at Aries Media. I'm here to uncover how today's top brands are scaling, overcoming challenges, and unlocking sustainable success. For those of you just tuning in, Aries Media helps grow successful brands with comprehensive hands-on support for sales, business development, and future performance marketing. Drop growth into the comments if you want to learn how to do that. So today we are joined by Fiona Rintoul, CEO of Purple Cow Recruiting. She is a visionary leader who's redefining talent acquisition by blending in-house expertise with precision search strategies. She's also championing women-owned business success across healthcare, SaaS, and government sectors. Fiona, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's so nice to have you on here. Okay, so Purple Cow Recruiting. First I have to get into your name, the name of the business, because a lot of times we see an opening in the market and we're like, I have a business idea that needs to fit in there. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, there's a famous book called Purple Cow. It's a marketing book. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have read that. I was wondering if it had something to do with that. Is that Seth Godin's book?
Yes, it's Seth Godin's book.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. If nobody's had the chance to read it. And I always say, one of the things is what makes you stand out. The universe is saturated with the recruiting companies, as you know, both in tech and healthcare. So it's if you're driving down Route 66, what's the thing that would make you slam on the brakes in a very mundane world? And that would be a purple cow.
Yeah.
So it stuck. And, there's also a saying in recruiting, the purple squirrel. Hiring managers are always looking for the thing that doesn't exist, the supermodel that has a PhD, wonderful communicator, but can code, like things like that. And we can find them. We can find that needle in the haystack.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's such a good idea. Obviously the name is quite catchy, but also, yeah, people are searching for that rarity. And that's the thing that you provide.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. And it's fun for marketing. It's got a great logo. A lot of recruiting companies can be kind of stuffy. So we're not like that. We have a good
time. No, having fun is breakthrough, really, these days, where everybody's just very dressed up and professional,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me more about being a woman-owned business, thriving in both commercial and government recruiting. What are some of the challenges and advantages of that?
Yes, so Purple Cow has been established since 2016. And just before COVID in 2019, we decided to become a women-owned small business. So it's a certification that you get through the government, and you have to be 51% owned by a woman. So it's kind of a lengthy process. They make sure that you are truly a women-owned small business. You have to have that percentage of women that own the business. And what it does is it opens doors for you to get a set aside from the government. So the government has certain set asides for small disabled veteran-owned business, women-owned business, American Indian business, and basically they have to meet their diversity initiatives. So it allows us to kind of get a piece of the pie by being a women-owned small business. And it kind of lets you into groups, forums, companies that love to work with women-owned small businesses. So it's opened a lot of doors for us, both in the government and in the commercial space. And back at the beginning of last year, we reapplied. We had to start all over again because 3 years had lapsed. There's a 3-year window. Over COVID, it just went to hell in a handbasket. So we reapplied and we're back in the space, back in the government. Any business that so businesses get audited, and a lot of the times if they're over a certain size, they have to have these diversity initiatives. So we kind of tick 2 boxes. We can fill the talent and we can be part of the diversity initiatives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea, because absolutely the government is always looking to fill certain niche roles, but also obviously attracting more clientele that actually want to work with a women-owned business.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's conferences like 4 times a year, big companies like Disney, KPMG, PwC, they're all getting in on it. And it's just a great camaraderie to learn how different entrepreneurs are doing things, competing against big beasts of recruiting companies. You've got that and you've kind of got that back up. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right. So there have been a lot of recent changes in the healthcare and the SaaS industries. So how are you making sure that your team stays agile and ahead of the evolving talent demands?
Well, I mean, AI is the big one, right?
Yeah.
So we have kind of been dabbling in a lot of AI tools to try and pull the right candidates from certain companies or industries. And we're very particular with what tools we use. We test them out first before we buy,
Yeah.
because there's a lot out there. We tend to go for tools that mainly are in America, because with the government, they're very, very stringent on, who has your data, who can see your data. So we've got to make sure we're compliant with that. And we hunt most of our people. So it's a very competitive market out there for healthcare and for SaaS. So we truly have to pull people from companies. We don't just post and pray. We don't get candidates. We don't get applicants. We get people that we have pulled from companies that are working, that are in very good companies, competitors. And so we use kind of a mixture of all of that. And then we speak to our candidates. We're real people. Even though we use AI as a tool, we always have a human talking to them, finding out what their strategies are, what kind of culture they want. So not only do they fit on paper, but they fit their personality as well. Do they live and breathe to work? Does the company want that? Are they very outgoing? Do they want life after work? Like we know all about their families. We know what their goals are. We know what direction they want to go in before we present them to clients. And with healthcare, we also have to credential. So if you've got a doctor that has to be credentialed in a certain area, in a certain state, we make sure when we send them to the client, they're wrapped in a nice big bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I assume that's something that clients really love.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. A lot of our clients are repeat business. We've hired them and then they need to hire a team. I was on the phone this morning with someone who we had expanded their whole team for a PE company, and he's doing the same in a new company. So he's bringing us on to kind of recreate what we did in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And that repeat business is probably, a major portion of what you we
Like
got a visitor. No, it's all good.
Frank
I'm gonna
Sinatra.
I'm gonna go back here and take him out.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, our reputation is everything.
yeah.
We have really good retention. Our candidates tend to stay on for a long time. We don't have people that we just put a bum in a seat and hope that they stay there. So our retention is great, which makes our reputation great, which makes our references great, which is great for the government and for commercial. So yeah, we're really proud of that.
Yeah, that sounds like a virtuous cycle where each element builds up the other element and just makes it that much better. And all the more reason for somebody to continue working with you again and again in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of our clients came through word of mouth. Our business development is funny because we've tried a lot of different avenues for business development, and that's talk about the landscape changing. People are not reading cold emails anymore. They're not responding to LinkedIn messages. They respond to people they trust and they know,
Yeah.
or they've heard from word of mouth from someone else that you do a good job, rather than kind of sending these cold emails and hoping somebody grasps onto it. It's a lot different from what it used to be.
Yeah. And referrals and word of mouth are some of the best, highest quality, but, sometimes they're not that scalable. So, we have this amazing engine that you have. How do you intend to scale the company, say over the next 2 to 5 years?
So it's funny you say that. We're actually doing that right now. And in recruiting, VMS systems have gotten huge. So that's basically like a pool of companies and recruiting organizations. And it's kind of like playing matchmaker. They are monopolizing the industry right now. Their scale is huge, but there's a lot of old jobs in there. There's a lot of redundant work in there. So you have to use the volume, but also use a quality control on that. So VMS are very good to scale. They're very good to get more business, but you've got to make sure you do it properly. One of the ways to do that is getting exclusivity on contracts. So if we work with clients, we tend to say, okay, we'll work with you, but you have to give us exclusivity. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to fish in the same pond as half a dozen other recruiters, because we're all competing against the same fish. We're all putting our rods in there and it doesn't work. So one of the ways to scale is to use VMS to get exclusivity for the volume. And also in the government, is to win these bids. Not to get too much into it, but Dodge has really made an impact on government contracts. There's been huge audits. They've cleaned up the vehicles that they're going to allow contracts to come through. There's going to be one main vehicle, which is GSA schedule, which will allow them to have basically, you've got set rates you have to put in. It'll all be done through that. And I think if we can get that on that and get that cleaned up, then we'll become a preferred supplier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. So, if you had access to a magic wand and you could just wave your wand and just eliminate one of your obstacles that's blocking your growth, what would you get rid of?
Badly put together VMS systems. Old jobs, just having these systems out there that have a lot of bad data, a lot of dodgy data, and I would have that much more cleaned up, and then I would give exclusivity. I don't have to have it all, but give it to individual recruitment companies, as I said, so we're not all fishing in the same pond. It is useless.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you deliver to people? Like, for a person who is listening to this podcast, who's interested in this type of thing, what is it that you deliver, the real experience?
I think what sets us apart and what we deliver, as I said, is this white glove service that really hands over the best talent with a nice, neat bow on it. For example, if we're given a physician candidate, say it's a plastic surgeon in Florida, first of all, we'll know where this person is based. We'll know their families, what their obstacles may be to accept. We'll know their salaries. We will know that they're credentialed. We'll know their background. We'll know that they've not had any malpractice, so that when we deliver to our candidates, they can trust that they're getting the best possible person for their role. We do very, very in-depth intake calls, so we know the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that when we tell the story, the candidate truly knows what they're getting themselves into. There's no, we don't pull the hood over their eyes. We tell them what the future will look like. So I like to think we give this white glove service that kind of sets us apart from somebody that just throws a resume and hopes that it sticks.
Yeah. You said that one of the issues that you were struggling with was dodgy data in those VMS systems. And it sounds like something that you solve is that dodgy data from actual candidates, on both sides, the dodgy data from the employers.
Yeah.
And the dodgy data from, hey, we're going to deliver a real candidate who's going to be a good fit.
Yeah. And it's our recruiters that we hire, very experienced. They dig into, not just what's on a piece of paper, but for example, if it's a sales candidate, have they done B2B? What's been your clients? Have they done enterprise? Have they done a tangible product? Have they sold a SaaS product? So we make sure that what they say on paper is truly what is correct. Because a lot of candidates nowadays will use ChatGPT. So they'll put in, say I've worked in a software company and for 5 years and I've been really successful, and ChatGPT will spit out this beautiful information that looks great on paper, but once you start talking to them, they're backtracking, they're stumbling. You'll realize that they've elaborated it a little bit in their background.
Yeah, man, I feel like that's the next level beyond embellishing. You're not just saying you worked at a place for 6 months when you worked there for 5.5, right? You're saying that there's whole skill sets that you don't have. And if you were hired for the job, what would you do if you actually needed to sit down and do some coding? I would have no idea what to do. If you set me up in front of some coding, I'd be like, no, not a chance.
It's terrifying. I mean, it's really, and you can kind of tell now. I've been doing this for a long time, and our recruiters can kind of tell when there's been an AI generated resume. I mean, we've had it where we've had people apply to Purple Cow with a AI generated resume, and we know that it's not right, and there's something just a little bit off about it. And they can even say to AI or ChatGPT now, make this sound like I'm a real person. So it's tricky.
There's no perfect fix for that. So do you have any struggles with AI? You said that you try to use AI beneficially, like in certain things, but you absolutely have to have that human touch. Is there anything do you feel like AI is trying to eat away a portion of what you do, of your field?
Yeah, it's funny. I try not to see it as a competitor, and I try and see it as a tool we can use. I only use it for data. I don't use it for I would never send any candidate or talent to my client without humanizing it. So I only use AI for data. And we have went through a number of companies before we landed on 2 that we chose to do our AI sourcing. So you've got to make sure we get a lot of spam email in. This is the next big thing for AI in recruiting. I'm always open to new ideas. 8 out of 10 times, I would say that I do check out their website and check out what they do. But I've just got to make sure that the quality is there as well. If you get a company with AI, they'll send you, we can do this for $200 a month or something. There's something not right. There's something just off with that. So you do have to pay a little bit for, a company that has expertise, especially in recruiting as well. I tend to not to stay away from any companies that do other things. They could be selling toothbrushes or pencils or whatever. That's great to use AI, but I like companies that actually have worked with the recruitment agencies. They know hiring managers. They know who the decision makers are. They know what companies to go in for. They know how to look for jobs. So I tend to stick to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think over time, like we've evolved to be able to look like, say, for poisonous berries or something in the wild. And I think that now our evolution is like, we're looking for that weird thing that AI does. We're like, nah, there's something wrong with that. That's
I
not
got
human.
a call
Right.
from a robot about 2 weeks ago, and they got me. I didn't know. And it wasn't until the conversation just went on. I think my cat jumped on me and I said something weird and they couldn't process it. So they kept talking and I thought, you're a robot. Like this isn't a real person. It was really, really strange, but they could pick up my cues. They knew, they were very lifelike. And it wasn't until the conversation just went off that they couldn't keep up. And that's when I realized it was a robot.
Yeah. Oh, they failed the Turing test at that point, right?
Yeah. My cat saved the day.
Frank Sinatra, right?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Cute. So where can people find you? Where can people find you and get more of your services?
So we have our website, www.purplecowrecruiting.com. We're on LinkedIn. We actually are quite busy on LinkedIn. We post a lot. We have jobs on there. We update with any projects that are coming in. And for government, we're on the SAM website. So we're on there as well. My email is fiona@purplecowrecruiting.com. And yeah, we're pretty accessible. I'm on the East time zone and we do work in Europe and Singapore. So we have kind of crazy working hours sometimes. But we have people all over North America and one person in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So do you offer like a worldwide service?
Yeah. So we do a lot of global projects. I've got 2 in Europe right now and 1 in Singapore. We work in Australia, New Zealand. So yeah, it's great. I mean, the world is a smaller place now with, LinkedIn and the internet and, Teams. We can talk to anybody at any time, but just means we might have to get up a little bit earlier. But yeah, I love doing global work. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. I mean, our company's the same way. We have people all over the map. So
I love that. It's just fun. It's great to learn, and especially entrepreneurs to kind of find out how they're doing things. It can be a tiny bit tricky when it comes to hiring, just with laws, taxes. And so they tend to deal with that themselves. North America is a lot easier because we can run contractors on payroll. They can be employer of record for us. So that's easier. And the government also you have to be a US citizen. So that's a little bit different. But anything like healthcare or tech, we're happy to do global work as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Fiona, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's wonderful to have you.
Thanks, Jules. It's a pleasure.